Your car is much more than a steering wheel, four wheels, and a screen. Although it may sound exaggerated, most drivers use only a fraction of what the vehicle can actually do. And not because it's difficult, but because many brands hide functions in plain sight. Others appear only through button combinations, and several activate out of habit, without anyone explaining that it was a tool. The result is always the same: driving without taking advantage of shortcuts that simplify daily life, misusing systems like air conditioning or the defroster, and ending up spending money on problems that could be avoided with a basic adjustment. The interesting thing is that these secret functions are neither magic nor weird tricks. They are small designs intended for safety, comfort, and maintenance. Some are on the remote control, others on the dashboard, mirrors, key, fuel cap, or even the seatbelt itself. And the strongest point is this: several of the 17 features we are going to review not only improve your experience, but can save you thousands on avoidable repairs and increase your safety at the wheel when something goes wrong. If your car has them, it's very likely you've never used them. So let's start discovering them. Secret number 17. The remote ventilation protocol. It's not a comfort whim, it's a thermal comfort function, and in certain scenarios, also a safety feature. Anyone who has left their car in the sun knows the greenhouse effect. The cabin turns into an oven, and some surfaces, like the dashboard, can reach extreme temperatures. To counteract this, several manufacturers integrated a protocol that allows ventilating the interior before getting in. The trick is usually in the remote control. In many vehicles, if you hold the unlock button for 3 to 5 seconds, the system executes global opening known as global opening or summer opening. What happens? The window actuators receive the command to lower simultaneously. The goal is simple: perform a shock ventilation that expels the overheated air accumulated in seconds, so that the cabin doesn't hit you like a heat wave when you open the door. And it has an equally useful counterpart: global closing. In many models, if you hold the lock button, the car not only closes and secures the doors, but also raises the windows and closes the roof if they were open. It's a life-saving correction for the most common mistake: walking away and discovering too late that a window was left ajar, risking rain or theft. Secret number 16. Mechanical parking override. In a modern car, almost everything depends on electronic modules, sensors, and actuators. But engineers know there's a scenario that shuts everything down at once: a completely dead battery. And when that happens, you don't just lose the ability to start the car. In many vehicles, the control module and solenoid that releases the gear lever become inoperative, leaving the transmission stuck in P, or park. This is more common than it seems, and can become a serious problem if the car is blocking a garage, gate, or narrow access, and needs to be moved immediately. The enemy here is the brake interlock. Normally, an automatic gearbox has an electronic latch that only releases the lever when it detects ignition and the brake pedal pressed. It's a safety measure to prevent accidental movement. But without power, the latch receives no signal. It doesn't release, doesn't move, doesn't understand anything. The result is frustrating. Even if you want to put it in neutral to push the car, you simply can't. The solution is factory designed and has a proper name: Shift Lock Override. And the important thing, it's not a menu, digital command, or hidden trick on the screen. It's a mechanical bypass, an analog bridge designed exclusively to manually push that latch when everything else fails. Where is it? Almost always near the base of the lever in the center console, hidden behind a rectangular or square cover that blends with the plastic. Sometimes right next to the P position, sometimes next to the selector frame. How to use it? Remove the cover with the emergency key, the tip of a small screwdriver, or even a rigid pen. Beneath appears a small channel or button. Insert the tool and press down or push an internal spring. At the right moment, you feel a click. The lock is released. With the brake pedal pressed, the driver can move the lever to N, freeing the wheels to push or load the car. The importance is tactical and economic. A tow truck without this knowledge might need rolling platforms, extra tools, or even another truck to move the vehicle, increasing time and cost. Knowing this bypass turns an immobilized car into a rolling load in seconds. It's literally the final safety net when the electronics go silent. Secret number 15. Cabin supervision lens. Driving a multi-row family vehicle brings a challenge that small cars don't: monitoring rear passengers and maintaining communication without losing control of the environment. The instinctive reaction, turning your head to look back, is dangerous. At 100 kilometers per hour, 1 second of distraction equals almost 28 meters blind, with the car moving and the lane changing around. The solution is often hidden in the most obvious place: the upper sunglasses compartment. In many family models, designers integrated a secondary convex mirror, known as a conversation mirror or child mirror. A simple piece, but designed with safety logic, improving internal monitoring without abrupt movements or reconfiguring the main mirror. Activation is also designed to be discreet. Unlike the fully opening glasses holder, this mirror can be revealed with a double-click mechanism or additional latch. The first click opens the compartment. The second, halfway or via a separate tab, deploys the conversation mirror oriented toward the rear seats. Its optical advantage: being convex and wide-angle, it provides a panoramic view of the second row, and in many cases, the third, shoulder to shoulder. All with a quick glance, without moving the main mirror or turning the neck. In terms of ergonomics and safety, this function reduces social distraction inside the car. It allows immediate eye contact to stop a child fight or answer a question while maintaining correct posture and peripheral attention on the lane. It proves that modern safety isn't just sensors and automatic braking. It also includes intelligent cabin management. Secret number 14, proximity locking and unlocking. In vehicles equipped with keyless entry, the function is not limited to not taking out the key. In practice, it is the car acting as an autonomous system that reacts to your presence and manages security and access without you having to think about it. The principle is simple, but sophisticated. The fob emits an identifiable signal, and the vehicle searches for it through proximity antennas located at key points: door handles, trunk area, and depending on the model, the cabin. When you approach, the car creates a kind of detection bubble, and if it validates the signal, executes the welcome protocol. It unlocks doors, turns on courtesy lights, and in some cases unfolds mirrors or activates a light animation. In many models, being within 1 or 2 meters is enough. In others, you must also touch the handle or press a capacitive sensor. The other half of this secret is even more useful: locking by walking away, also called walk-away auto lock. You turn off the engine, get out, walk, and when the fob leaves the detection zone, the car locks itself after a few seconds. That soft click as you walk away is not a detail. It is an audible confirmation that the car was secured, neutralizing the most common cause of opportunistic thefts: forgetting to lock. In the day-to-day, it is a huge advantage when you are carrying bags, luggage, or a baby in your arms. You don't let go of anything, you don't look for buttons, you don't improvise. Tesla, Hyundai, Nissan, Mazda, and other brands popularized it under different names, but the logic is the same: immediate convenience with silent security. And a practical note: in some cars, this function can be activated, deactivated, or adjusted in the convenience menu, and it is worth knowing it to avoid surprises, or to reinforce it during long parking hours. Secret number 13, the key fob override and the hidden lock. If Secret 16 solved the problem of moving the car when everything was dead, this one points to an even more basic step: entering the cabin when the fob has stopped working. And the most common cause is not a car breakdown, but something much simpler. The CR2032 battery in the remote control is dead. The result is frustrating. The car is perfect, but the owner is left outside, as if it were not their vehicle. The first part of the backup plan is inside the fob itself. Most modern keys hide a metallic emergency key. To take it out, a small latch, button, or sliding switch is located on the side or the back of the fob. It is usually discreet, even with minimal texture. You press that lock, and the metal blade slides out. The second part is the elegant trickery of modern engineering. The lock cylinder exists, but it is hidden so as not to break the door's design. You must inspect the driver side handle. On the fixed end, the part that does not move, there is usually a removable plastic cover that hides the real lock. Often, the metal key itself serves as a gentle lever to remove that cover, revealing a traditional cylinder that most drivers have never seen. The emergency protocol continues like this. You insert the key, turn and open, but it is common for the alarm to go off because the car did not receive the cryptographic unlock signal. The solution is the final step. Bring the dead fob close to the emergency reading point so that the passive chip can be detected by the immobilizer. At that moment, the car allows the engine to start and the alarm is silenced. Knowing this makes the difference between solving it in 30 seconds or ending up paying for assistance for something the vehicle itself had already anticipated. Secret number 12, the traction control button. That button with the car icon and wavy lines is not a dashboard decoration or just another warning light. It is the direct access to one of the most important active safety systems in the vehicle. Traction control, and in many cars, its big brother, electronic stability control. Understanding what it does, and especially when it is convenient to deactivate it, can be the difference between getting out of a jam or staying buried. In normal conditions, traction control works to maximize grip. It uses speed sensors on each wheel to detect slipping. If a wheel spins faster than it should, the system reacts in two ways. First, it reduces power. It cuts the engine delivery to prevent the wheel from continuing to slip. Second, it applies selective braking. It sends brake pulses to the slipping wheel to transfer torque to the one that does have traction. On wet asphalt, fast curves, or starting on slippery paint, this is pure gold. But there is a paradoxical twist. In deep snow, thick mud, or loose sand, the normal operation of the TC can become counterproductive. To free yourself, you need the wheels to spin, remove material, and generate inertia. The system interprets that spin as slipping, and by cutting power, it chokes you just when you need the most momentum. The car runs out of strength, as if it refuses to move. That is where the survival maneuver comes in. In many models, holding the button down for 3 to 5 seconds temporarily deactivates the traction control. This allows for a controlled spin that gives you the necessary push to get out of the mud. The final rule is clear. Once you regain a firm surface, reactivate it. On the road, this system is your silent ally. Off-road, sometimes you have to let it rest for a few seconds to be able to escape. Secret number 11, the sun visor side slider. The sun visor seems like the simplest piece of the interior, until it fails at the most critical moment. The typical scenario is the low sun, entering at an oblique angle through the driver's side window. You turn the sun visor, unhook it from the ceiling, and move it towards the window, as always. And there the problem appears. Between the end of the sun visor and the rearview mirror, there is usually a gap of uncovered glass. That small space is enough for the sun to get exactly where it bothers most, creating a blinding glare and a true blind spot of light. Many cars solve this with a solution as simple as it is effective. A sliding extension mechanism integrated into the sun visor. It is not a separate accessory or a weird trick. It is part of the design. Once the sun visor is oriented towards the side window, the driver only has to grab the inner edge and slide it back towards the rear of the vehicle. In some models, the system is telescopic. In others, it runs on an internal rail with an additional extension. The benefit is immediate. The extended sun visor completely covers the side glass, eliminating that gap that lets the most aggressive ray through. It seems like a minor detail, but in real driving it is huge. It reduces visual fatigue, improves the reading of the surroundings, and above all eliminates a distraction factor that forces you to squint, change posture, or move your head looking for shade. It is one of those low-cost pieces of engineering that, when you discover it and use it well, feels as if the car had the answer from the beginning, and it just took someone to tell you about it. Secret number 10, intelligent compartmentalization. Automotive interior designers work under a silent mandate to squeeze the utility out of every centimeter of the cabin without compromising safety, aesthetics, or ergonomics. From that obsession, invisible storage spaces are born, zones of hidden density that are not simple holes, but compartments designed to store essential items in a safe, discreet, and immobilized way. In other words, the car not only transports people, it also transports a small personal logistics system. A classic example is under the seat. In many SUVs and minivans, there is a removable tray or drawer under the front passenger seat, or even under the cushion. It is the perfect place for documents, emergency money, a flashlight, or a mini first aid kit. It remains hidden from plain sight, but can be reached quickly without opening the trunk or exposing what is stored. Another level is offered by floor bins. In several family vehicles, deep compartments appear integrated into the floor of the second row, closed with rigid covers. In some models, they are linked to the design of folding seats, such as stow-and-go solutions, but their practical value goes much further. They are ideal for storing tools, snow chains, gloves, jumper cables, or emergency equipment without taking up visible space or rolling around in every turn. And then there are the side cargo areas. Behind carpeted panels in the trunk or in side cavities, many cars hide spots designed for oil bottles, windshield washer fluid, triangles, inflation kits, or compressors. The goal is to immobilize those objects to avoid noise, bumps, and damage while driving. This type of compartmentalization turns the car into a mobile base of operations. It reduces clutter, keeps the important things at hand, and, above all, prevents luggage from turning into internal projectiles during a sudden break. Secret number 9. The intelligent recirculation button, AC Max. That button with a curved arrow inside the outline of a car is usually treated as a simple, quick cooling feature. But in reality, recirculation is one of the most important tools of the climate control system. It works as a defense against external pollutants and as a key resource to improve energy efficiency. When recirculation is activated, the ventilation system closes the exterior intake flap and stops taking air from the street. Instead, it circulates the air that is already inside the cabin. This is vital in very specific situations. When you are behind a diesel truck, passing through a tunnel, in heavy traffic, or in smoky areas. The effect is immediate. It reduces the entry of odors, particles, and annoying gases, protecting the occupants from unnecessary exposure. But the invisible benefit is in consumption. In summer, recirculating is the most efficient trick for cooling. The interior air is already closer to the target temperature, so the AC compressor does not have to fight against hot outside air all the time. On long trips in the heat, keeping recirculation active reduces the load on the system, lowers the engine effort, and by extension can help decrease fuel consumption. However, there is a very common mistake. In winter or in humid environments, leaving recirculation on for too long can become a problem. By recirculating the moisture-laden air exhaled by occupants, the vapor level inside the cabin rises, and the windows begin to fog up. That is why many modern cars automatically deactivate it after a few minutes or when they detect certain conditions. Secret number 8. The ice plate warning, snowflake. Many drivers see it as a decorative detail on the dashboard. A snowflake appears, sometimes a beep, and next to it the outside temperature. But in reality, it is not just a thermometer. It is a critical temperature function, a passive safety system designed to warn of the moment when water can change state on the road and turn the asphalt into a trap. The system is programmed to activate a visual alert when the temperature drops below a specific threshold, usually between 3 and 4 degrees Celsius. And the important detail is this: 0 is not used as a reference. Engineers do not wait for the air to hit 0 degrees Celsius, because the road does not behave like the air. Physics is inconvenient. The asphalt can be several degrees colder than the ambient temperature, especially on bridges, overpasses, and shaded areas. Wind, night radiation, and the lack of thermal mass in certain structures cause those surfaces to lose heat faster. So, even if the air marks 3 degrees Celsius, the roadway may be near 0 or below. And if there is surface moisture, the most dangerous thing can form: black ice, a thin and invisible layer that reduces friction to absurdly low levels. Therefore, this alert is not informative, it is tactical. It is a signal to change the driving mode at that very instant. Reduce speed, increase distance, brake gently, and avoid sharp turns and sudden accelerations. Because the moment the snowflake appears, the car is not saying it's cold, it is saying you could be about to lose grip without seeing it coming. Secret number 7. The automatic start-stop deactivation button. Many modern vehicles, especially those designed to meet emission and consumption regulations, incorporate the start-stop system. It automatically turns off the engine when the car stops at a traffic light or in a traffic jam and turns it back on when the brake is released. In theory, it is simple and efficient. In practice, many drivers find it annoying due to the sensation of cutting out, or they worry about potential wear. And that is where the problem appears. They try to fight the system incorrectly, when the car already comes with an override designed for real use. Under normal conditions, start-stop is designed to survive thousands of extra cycles. That is why it is usually accompanied by reinforced components, a more robust starter motor, a deep-cycle AGM or EFB battery, and electronic management that decides when it is convenient to turn off and when it is not. Even so, there are scenarios where temporarily deactivating it makes practical sense. Extremely intermittent traffic, parking maneuvers, or situations where the driver needs a more constant engine response. The official override is almost always in sight. It is a dedicated button, often with an A surrounded by an arrow, or with the label Start Stop Off. When pressed, the system remains deactivated only during that driving cycle. When the vehicle is turned off and on, it reactivates by default, precisely to ensure that the car operates under the certification parameters. And there is another little-known detail. In some models, especially European ones, the system depends on the pressure level of the brake pedal. If the driver applies minimum pressure, enough to keep the car stopped without sinking the pedal, start-stop may not activate. It is a selective override based on touch. It's not magic, it's control logic. When understood, it stops being a nuisance and becomes a tool. Secret number 6. the quick defrost function. Many drivers fight against fogging as if it were a lottery. They turn up the fan, touch the temperature, turn the air conditioning on and off, and meanwhile they drive with partial vision, which is exactly when the most distraction and risk accumulate. What almost no one takes advantage of is that most cars already come with a single-touch solution designed to clear the windshield in seconds. This defrost mode is usually identified with an icon of a windshield with arrows, and in many models appears as max or as a special press position. Upon activation, the system executes an automatic protocol that combines 3 key actions simultaneously without you having to think. First, it turns on the AC compressor. This is the point many do not understand. Even in the cold, the air conditioning works as a dehumidifier, extracting moisture from the air. That moisture is what condenses on the glass and forms the film of fog. Second, it activates maximum heat. Hot, dry air can absorb much more moisture than cold air, so it eats up the vapor stuck to the windshield much faster. Third, it directs maximum airflow to the windshield, concentrating the fan's power into a wall of dry, hot air right where you need it. And almost always, this button is complemented by the rear window defogger to recover full visibility. Knowing it exists turns a dangerous situation into an automatic gesture. One touch, and you're done. Secret number 7, the auto-dimming rearview mirror. Driving at night and being blinded by the high beams of the car behind you is not just a nuisance. It is a temporary loss of vision that can compromise your ability to read the road, calculate distances, and react. For this reason, for decades, manufacturers have integrated a specific function to combat glare, and many drivers ignore it completely. In older vehicles, the trick is manual and is literally in your face. On the bottom edge of the interior mirror, there is usually a small lever. When flipped, the mirror switches to day-night mode. It doesn't turn off the light, but it changes the angle of the reflection to a secondary plane. The effect is immediate. Most of the glare is diverted toward the cabin ceiling and you see a dimmer reflection, enough to maintain visibility of what is happening behind without burning your eyes. In newer models, this function is automated with electrochromic technology, commonly marked as auto-dimming or auto-dim. These mirrors have 2 sensors, a front one that measures the interior ambient light and a rear one that detects light coming from traffic. If the rear sensor sees an intense beam while the general environment is dark, the mirror applies a current to an internal layer that darkens the glass gradually, eliminating glare without driver intervention. The truly secret part is that many do not notice the small AUTO button or the indicator light. They believe it is an ordinary mirror, when in reality it is an active visual safety system working silently every night. Secret number 4, the telescopic and tilt adjustment of the steering wheel. Although it seems basic, most drivers adjust the seat and mirrors, and forget about the steering wheel. And that mistake is paid for with fatigue, poor posture, and, most seriously, with a worse safety geometry regarding the airbag. The steering wheel is not just there for turning, its position defines how your arms and shoulders work, and the actual distance to the airbag. Most vehicles have a release lever under the steering column. Many people believe it is only for raising or lowering the wheel, but it usually allows for 2 movements: tilt and telescopic adjustment. Correct ergonomics has a simple and very effective rule. With your back against the backrest, the driver should be able to rest their wrist on the top of the steering wheel without lifting their shoulder from the seat. Thus, when driving, the arms remain slightly bent and you can turn with control without stretching or shrinking. And there is the critical point: airbag safety. A steering wheel too close can turn the deployment into a dangerous blow. The recommended distance between the chest and the center of the steering wheel should be around 25 to 30 centimeters. A good telescopic adjustment is not about comfort. It is the way to maintain that distance while preserving a stable and natural driving posture. Secret number 3, the 3-blink turn signal. It is a courtesy function that many drivers use by accident, without knowing it exists by design. Instead of pushing the turn signal lever to the engagement point, it is enough to give it a light tap up or down without locking it. That gesture activates a limited signal, normally 3 blinks and in some models 5. The logic is perfect for the highway. That duration is calibrated to cover the typical time of a lane change. You signal, you move, you straighten the steering wheel, and the signal turns off by itself without the need to touch the lever again to cancel it. The result is more than comfort. It is safety. Since it is so easy, it encourages the driver to signal more frequently, even in subtle maneuvers, short overtakes or lane corrections where many would not use the blinker out of laziness or not wanting to leave it on. It is a small design detail that turns a forgotten habit into a safer and more polite behavior on the road. Secret number 2, the secret arrow on the fuel gauge. It is one of those tricks so simple that it seems incredible that so many people still ignore it. And yet it keeps happening, arriving at an unfamiliar gas station, parking on the wrong side, and having to maneuver again with people waiting and the car crossed. The solution is on the dashboard. Next to the gas pump icon on the fuel gauge, many cars include a small arrow that goes completely unnoticed. That arrow is not for decoration. It indicates the side of the vehicle where the tank cap is located. If it points to the left, the filler neck is on the left side. If it points to the right, it is on the right side. It is a minimal and almost universal piece of design, intended to solve an everyday logistical problem without manuals or explanations. A small detail that saves time, avoids embarrassment, and above all, allows you to refuel without hesitation even if you're driving a borrowed or rented car. Secret number 1, the removable headrest as a survival tool. The headrest is not just a comfortable support, it is part of the vehicle's safety system. Its main function is to protect you from whiplash in a rear impact, which is why it must be properly adjusted, ideally at eye level or with the top edge near the top of the head. But there is a hidden use that few know. In an extreme emergency, the windows may become inoperative and the cabin becomes a trap. That is where the headrest comes in as an improvised tool. The key lies in its 2 metal rods. In many models, the headrest can be removed by pressing the release buttons at the base. Once out, those rods become a hard and concentrated impact point. Side windows are usually made of tempered glass, designed to fragment upon receiving a precise blow. The technique consists of striking a corner or the bottom edge with force, never the center. That is where the weakest points are. A sharp and localized impact can break the glass and open an exit. It is the perfect closing to the list. A daily component turned into a vital resource when the electronics have already failed.